Halo Campaign Evolved launches July 28th. Premium and Collector's Edition buyers get in on July 23rd, because apparently even nostalgia has a VIP line now. And the fan base is already acting like Master Chief descended from the heavens, paid everybody's child support, cured male pattern baldness, and made rent affordable again. The reaction thumbnails are foaming at the mouth. The monk chant tears are flooding basements. The Halo is back comments are breeding like flood spores, and the hype train already has a body count. Well, after 2 years of being a silent observer of this franchise, I am here to add reasoning with a touch of analysis on this topic. My opinion has not changed. Halo Campaign Evolved has already failed. Not commercially, because Microsoft can still sell nostalgia to people with functioning debit cards, but creatively. It has failed to explain why this remake should even exist in the first place. And I know that is going to hit some feelings like a war hog through an open casket funeral. Good, because some of you are too easy to impress. It's as if Halo Studios could put Master Chief in front of a sunset, have him slowly walk towards the camera, and some of you would start acting like Jesus respawned a Mjolnir armor to fix your credit scores. Here is the problem. This is not a comeback. This is not a power move. This is not Halo marching back into the room with its chest out. No, this is a franchise dragging out its most beloved trophy because the new ones never came. Look at what they're actually selling. It is not Halo 7. It is not a bold new mainline entry. It is yet another remake / remaster of the 2001 campaign, again, with 3 new prequel missions nobody was exactly camped outside Microsoft headquarters begging for, so-called expanded gameplay that treats 25 years of Halo like an all-you-can-eat borrow buffet, sprint, hit markers, later game weapons, vehicle hijacking, remixed encounters, and enough mechanics and reused assets pulled from other Halo games to make CE look like it got dressed in front of the franchise's Lost and Found. I call it Build-A-Bear Halo. Nobody wanted this. Nobody was holding a cardboard sign that said, please sell us Halo 1 again, but this time add sprint, hit markers, 39 skulls, 9 extra weapons, and whatever you do, leave Blood Gulch in 2001. So let me ask the obvious question. Was the energy sword missing from CE the reason Halo fell off? Was not driving a Wraith the thing holding the franchise back? Was the original problem really that CE did not have enough knobs, modifiers, bonus weapons, and modern systems? Or is Halo Studios looking at a masterpiece and saying, how do we make this busier, safer, more marketable, and more like everything else we already made? Nope, sorry, let's get this thing out lazy as possible. Let's enhance it, expand it, modernize it, refine it, smooth it, make it more accessible, make it more replayable, make it more for everyone, and once again, release Halo 1 Remake with no PvP multiplayer, Forge, theater, or community features that would amplify a 5-hour experience into an endless one. That is not understanding Halo CE. That's misunderstanding it in 4K. Because when people talk about Halo Combat Evolved, they do not talk about only the campaign. They talk about the social side, split-screen chaos, LAN parties, Blood Gulch and Hang 'em High, driving around with friends doing stupid stuff for hours, calling somebody a screen peeker while looking directly at their quarter of the television, the kind of gaming culture Halo did not merely participate in, but fostered. This is why I am astounded by the massive missed opportunity and the utter creative laziness behind the decision to leave competitive multiplayer out of Halo Campaign Evolved. A complete multiplayer revival might have actually justified this entire project. Imagine the original maps rebuilt for modern hardware, Halo PvP launching on PlayStation for the first time, Xbox, PC, and PS5 players all brought together through crossplay, Forge giving the community tools to create new maps and modes, a custom game browser keeping everything fun and customizable, and Blood Gulch becoming a social space for an entirely new generation of players. Now we are talking about more than replaying an old campaign. Now you are rebuilding the complete Halo Combat Evolved experience. Now you are taking something from 2001 and giving it a genuine future, a chance. That could have transformed Campaign Evolved from another temporary nostalgia product into a living Halo platform. A place where old players return, new players meet them, and the community produces experiences long after everybody finishes the campaign. That would have been a reason to remake CE. But without PvP, Forge, or meaningful community tools, what exactly are they future-proofing? The cutscenes? The hallways? The 5-hour campaign most Halo fans have completed enough times to navigate with their eyes closed? They modernized the finite part and abandoned the part that could have made the remake endless. They rebuilt the museum exhibit and forgot the room where everybody used to hang out. And that omission becomes even harder to justify when you remember that the campaign they chose to rebuild is not missing, inaccessible, or trapped on dead hardware. Let's stop acting like classic Halo is buried in a cave guarded by the Covenant. It is not. We already have the MCC, literally the Halo Nostalgia Buffet, 6 games in one collection, Reach, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, Halo 2 Anniversary, Halo 3, Halo 3 Odyssey Campaign, Halo 4, 67 campaign missions, multiplayer maps, modes, game types, Firefight Forge content, and 120 multiplayer maps, and more. We already have the classic campaigns. We already have Combat Evolved Anniversary. We already have the old games bundled together. We already have the museum. Halo fans are not starving because they can't access old Halo. Halo fans are starving because modern Halo cannot feed them anything new worth staying for. That is the issue. This is like a record label selling you the complete box set, then returning years later with a recorded single, instruments borrowed from every other later album, 3 bonus intros nobody requested, and no live disc where the fans used to gather. They just found another way to repackage the safest thing in the building. This is not Halo moving forward. Again, this is Halo walking backward with better lighting. New players already have MCC. PC players already have MCC. Game Pass players already have MCC. And yes, I can already hear the counter argument, but PlayStation players don't have MCC. This is their introduction to Halo, and that part is true. Campaign Evolved is the first game coming to PS5, and giving the audience an entry point is okay, but that doesn't explain a port. It doesn't justify rebuilding CE into a modern mechanics sampler platter. If introducing PlayStation players to Halo's history is the goal, then bring MCC to PlayStation. Give them the 6-game collection. Give them the 67 campaign missions, multiplayer forge, the actual history of the franchise instead of one campaign-only remake with no PvP and a suitcase full of mechanics borrowed from later games. So when Halo Studios says, we're going back to where it all began, my question is, why? Why again? Why is the future of Halo standing on Bungie's front porch asking to borrow sugar? If Halo Studios had actually built a modern era that people trusted, they would not need to run all the way back to Combat Evolved to get everybody emotional again. Here is the part people keep skipping. Combat Evolved did not matter just because it was first. It mattered because it had a clear identity. The opening on the Pillar of Autumn was tight and focused. The first step onto Halo felt huge. The silent cartographer made a beach assault feel iconic, without begging you to think it was iconic. Assault on the control room made you feel like you were in this massive ring world, cold and ancient, and 343 Guilty Sparks shifted the entire game into a horror mode before you could even understand what was happening. That is why people still talk about the beach landing. That is why people still talk about the flood reveal. It's why people still remember the mood and the tone of that game. It's not just shooting aliens, it was pacing, it was atmosphere, it was mystery. It was the feeling that you had landed somewhere ancient, dangerous, and bigger than you. And that's exactly why I get nervous when modern Halo starts touching it. Because modern Halo has spent years acting like restraint is a disease. And what are they doing instead? The opposite. Instead of trusting the original structure, they're rebuilding levels and encounters. Instead of trusting the original pacing, they're talking about refining it. Instead of trusting the original navigation and tension, they're adding more wayfinding and dialogue. Instead of keeping the darker tone of the campaign's map design, they decide to light up everything in Unreal Engine 5, disregarding the old tone entirely. Now add the rest of the modernization checklist. Hit markers are on by default, even though CE already communicated damage through shield flares, blood, sound, and animations. Kill zone boundaries spread out across the map that detract from the exploration and mystery. The motion trackers have been moved to the top right by default because apparently the radar spent 25 years in the wrong neighborhood. Objective prompts and weapon markers put extra signage on spaces that once trusted you to look around and explore. The original non-regeneration health bar and health packs are gone, replaced by regenerating health, removing the attrition system that made damage linger. Health packs matter, and surviving the next encounter depend on what happened in the last one. And before somebody says it, but some of these things are optional. That does not erase criticism. Optional bad decisions are still bad decisions. The defaults tell us what Halo Studios believes the modern Combat Evolved experience should be. New players are not going to begin their first Halo campaign by conducting a forensic investigation of the accessibility menu. They're going to play the version placed in front of them. The brighter, busier, more signposted, easier hand-holding version with systems the original game never needed. And many of the biggest changes cannot simply be toggled away. You cannot disable redesigned levels. You cannot switch the original health system back on. You cannot unwrite unnecessary additional dialogue, restore the old encounter pacing, remove artificial boundaries, or ask Unreal Engine to stop lighting ancient alien structures like they're touring an IKEA showroom. A toggle can hide a hit marker. It cannot hide the design philosophy behind it. And that philosophy, pile on familiar mechanics, polish everything until the texture disappears, and call the result modernization, appears to extend beyond gameplay. Because the deeper people look at this remake, the more it resembles a project constructed from Halo's existing parts catalog. Campaign Evolved's creative director has said that the new Halo simulation is built foundationally from Halo Reach, while pulling in additional pieces accumulated across 25 years of Halo. Fans have pointed to Reach-era third-person animations, Halo 5-style pistol movement, familiar Halo 3-era audio cues, and models or effects that resemble Infinite. Those specific comparisons are community observations, while the studio itself describes a Reach-based foundation with additional pieces pulled across the series and rendered through Unreal Engine 5. Then you have fully blown enemy AI systems using the Halo 3 Flood and the Halo Reach enemy AI. And Reach is not a bad game. Halo 3 is not a bad game. Halo 3's Flood was very fun to fight. That's not the point. The point is that a remake of Halo Combat Evolved should not feel like Halo Studios backed a U-Haul into the franchise warehouse and grabbed whatever was closest to the door. This is less ground up remake and more Master Chief assembled from the spare parts bin, reach bones, infinite skin, Halo 5 hand motions, Halo 3 sound effects, and a fresh Unreal Engine spray tan. At this point, it is not Halo Campaign Evolved. It is Halo Potluck Evolved. Halo Campaign Unreal Engine Slop Devolved. Build-A-Bear Halo, Halo Frankenstein Edition. Everybody brought a mechanic. Nobody brought a coherent identity. In my opinion, it's lazy, cheap, dusty. I do not care how you want to dress it up. Oh, well, Infinite had a classic-inspired art style, and the asset reuse is normal in the studio. Oh, but this model still looks good. This is Combat Evolved. The sacred cow. The one game in the franchise you should know people are going to inspect down to its pores. You mean to tell me that the big grand remake of CE is pulling pieces off the Infinite shelf like somebody rummaging through the drunk drawer before a school project is due? Stop it. I don't want to hear it. You're not making sense. That is not craftsmanship. That is scavenging. That is Halo Studios raiding Infinite's closet and calling it fashion, pretending to be a ground-up remake in disguise. Yet again, the reason I'm not moved is simple. We have seen the nice marketing. We have seen the good messaging. We have seen the "we hear you now" routine. We have seen the fan base talk itself into believing this time the lesson has really been learned. Then the compromise shows up. Then the weird design choice shows up. The missing feature shows up. The "why did they do that?" shows up. And right on schedule, the weird design choice showed up wearing pineapple orange armor. That is modern Halo in a nutshell. Oh yeah, guess what? By the way, we added this cool Fanta skin. We've got all these cool skins now for a first-person campaign in which you can't normally see your own body. Oh yeah, they don't appear in cutscenes, and there's no PvP multiplayer where anybody else can see it, so they're usually useless unless you activate this cool new third-person skull or climb into a warhog. Great job, 343 and Halo Studios, for adding what is essentially a new paint job for Chief's wrists. We did it. We sacrificed Blood Gulch but preserved the sacred right to glimpse at pineapple-flavored armor while reversing out of a parking spot. No multiplayer, no social space, no cinematic integration, but somewhere underneath the camera, Master Chief is dressed like a vending machine, and Halo Studios expects you, the player, to feel rewarded. Well hey, at least there's no shop this time, right? But why are we even in a conversation where I have to ask whether a CE campaign remake has a shop? How did we get here? How? How did Halo become a franchise where no in-game store is treated like a blessing instead of bare minimum? The bar is in the basement, and some of you are still trying to limbo under it. Stop. It's not happening. Some Halo fans are so starved for a win that they're ready to give these people credit before they can even do anything worth crediting. That is part of the problem too. The fanboys, the defenders, the people who hear old Halo music and immediately lose all survival instincts. Show them cheap, show them a ring, play the monk chant, boom, instant standing ovation. No, stop, I'm done, I can't stand it and I'm sorry. That is trained SEAL behavior. The fanboys are so desperate for Halo to be back, they would call a flat tire a sports car if it had a Chief sticker on it. That's not good. It's bad. It's how a franchise gets stuck. Because instead of making Halo Studios earn trust, some people hand it over eagerly every single time. Then act confused when the final product comes out compromised, incomplete, or weird. The game's first boss fight wasn't even the Covenant. It was Microsoft licensing. People who bought the premium edition for $70 or upgraded for $20 paid to skip the line and instead found themselves trapped outside the game, staring at a "you're too early" screen, while support handed them a troubleshooting checklist. Restart your console, clear the PC cache, close the app, open it again, try believing harder. For hours, the people who paid the most were doing unpaid technical support on the hardware of the company that took their money. Some started refunding the upgrade, and honestly, that may have been the most functional feature available at launch. And if recent reporting is accurate, this may not even be a one-off. Windows Central covered a Mr. Rebs report claiming Halo 2 and Halo 3 remakes are already in development after Campaign Evolved. Again, that is reporting, not official confirmation, but if that direction is real, then this is not just a one-time nostalgia product. This is a potential remake treadmill. And that is exactly what I mean when I say Halo is selling the past. Because what is the plan here? Remake CE? Then remake Halo 2? Then remake Halo 3? Then what? Keep walking Bungie's corpse around, Weekend at Bernie's style, until the fan base finally admits the new era has no pulse? That is not a future. That is a franchise doing laps around its own graveyard. And yes, Halo 2 and Halo 3 are legendary. I know, I love them. Yes, people would buy those remakes. Yes, they would get attention. That does not prove Halo is healthy. It proves people still love the Bungie trilogy. Those are not the same thing. You cannot build a future by constantly embalming the past, and at some point, Microsoft has to prove that it can create something new that stands on its own. But I'm not even sure if that's possible at this point with Halo Studios at the helm of this franchise. We don't need something wearing CE's helmet. We don't need something borrowing Halo 2's name, not something hiding inside Halo 3's legacy. Something new, something undeniable, something that stops people from saying, man, remember when Halo was good? Remember those good old days? But even if you support remakes of Halo 2 and 3, can you even trust Halo Studios and Microsoft to actually deliver this time? I don't. Because I see a studio that changed names, changed engines, grabbed the fastest, safest possible classic, added modern extras, split the difference on mechanics, reused previous Halo assets, reportedly leaned on outside development support once again, just like they did with Halo Infinite, turned a campaign remake into a modern feature buffet, and wrapped the whole thing into the Trust Us This Time packaging. It's not enough this time. You can't fool me. You can't fool us. You don't get to fumble this franchise for this long and then get treated like geniuses because you finally reached for the one thing everybody else built correctly before you got there. You do not get the full credit for pulling Granddad's old Cadillac out of the garage after wrecking every car you bought yourself. This is not brilliance, it's survival. Halo is in the worst shape that it's ever been. And when you strip away all the jokes, all the nostalgia, all the marketing, my argument is simple. The project is creatively unjustified because the original is already accessible. The remake selectively rebuilds only the finite portion of the experience, and its modernization risks sanding away the identity that Combat Evolved made worth remaking in the first place. And listen, the cosmetic weirdness, launch problems, asset controversy, and reports of more remakes do not necessarily prove that argument by themselves. They matter because they reinforce the same larger impression. Halo Studios is becoming better at repackaging Halo's recognizable past than it is constructing a convincing future. So yes, my opinion is still the same. Halo Campaign Evolved already failed. It failed because it feels like a bailout, not a breakthrough. It failed because it's incomplete. It failed because Halo Studios still has not earned the kind of trust required to touch something so sacred and important without people looking at every new detail sideways. It failed because the added missions, expanded arsenal, optional sprint, hit markers, removed health packs, regenerating health, encounter changes, reported infinite asset use, cosmetic weirdness, campaign-only focus, and so-called faithful yet modernized language all point to the same concern. They still cannot just let Halo be Halo. They don't understand Halo. They don't. And most of all, it failed because the very existence of this remake says the quiet part out loud. Halo still cannot get people to care enough about the future without dragging Bungie's greatest classics back onto the stage. That is not power. That is dependency. That is not confidence. This does not feel like a franchise building tomorrow. It feels like a franchise pawning family jewelry to pay this month's rent. It feels like a studio robbing Bungie's grave and calling it a revival. It feels like a garage sale remake dressed up in expensive lighting. It feels like Infinite wearing a Combat Evolved Halloween costume and hoping the fan base is too emotional to notice the mask slipping. And that is why I think Halo Combat Evolved already failed. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Remember to like, dislike, comment your thoughts and concerns on the video. And lastly, subscribe to Weapons Grade for more content about the future of Halo and gaming in general. Peace.